Brought to you by CHM, a biblically based alternative to health insurance. Learn more at chministries.org/budget.
So my wife and I have done a wonderful job at saving and investing. Depending upon the age that we retire at, I don't think it's unrealistic that we could end up with a nest egg of between $8 and $12 million.
Well done, sir. Touchdown.
Thank you. So my question is, we're a Christian family. We have four younger, wonderful daughters between the ages of 7 and 13 right now. And I want to know what you feel is appropriate to leave behind as an inheritance, because we're conscious of what the Bible says about money, and we don't want to spoil our children or teach them to rely on money as opposed to relying on God for their needs, going forward after we pass.
Mm-hmm. Do you not think it's possible to teach them that, and with having built that character, that they're then able to own this wealth like you are able to own this wealth?
Well, I'm not saying that at all. I just, I never had a nest egg like that passed to me.
No, I know.
And so,
But do you think the only way to learn it is to start out broke?
No, I don't think so.
And the Bible does not say it's bad to leave an inheritance. As a matter of fact, it says the opposite. A godly man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, is a Bible verse.
Totally agree with you.
Okay.
I just didn't know if there was maybe a line that maybe, you might cross over, like that's too much or something like that.
It's not an amount. It's a principle. And so here's the principle. You are not obligated, biblically or otherwise, to leave the money to your children. Okay? But to assume that it's going to damage them is not true. Okay? So what wealth does do is it magnifies the character of the person, including you, including me, and including your kids and my kids and Jade's kids. Okay? It magnifies the character of the person. So the problems in my character are magnified when I've got wealth because it gives me power. Does that make sense? The good parts of my character are also magnified. So someone that has a problem with their temper when they become wealthy becomes a rageaholic, and don't you know who I am? Comes out of their mouth. And stupid stuff like that, right? But someone who's generous, when they become wealthy, we call them a philanthropist because they change entire communities with their generosity. So whatever it is, good or bad, is magnified. And so the first thing that we taught the Ramsey kids is you're not entitled to anything just because you hit the gene pool lottery, right?
Yep.
You're not entitled to anything, number one. Number two, in order to be to qualify to manage the Ramsey wealth, the next generation, you have to have a spiritual understanding of the wealth, and that is that you don't own it, God owns it, you're just managing it. And once you grasp that, you realize wealth is the reasons that the Bible has warnings about wealth, because it's heavy to carry. It's a lot of responsibility to leave one of your children that becomes an adult $10 or $15 million, probably by then each. Okay.
Yes.
And so you leave one of them $10 million. That's a lot of responsibility if their job is to manage it for God, for His glory, which includes taking care of your own household.
Mark, let me ask a question on your behalf, because when I hear your question, I have thoughts of my own. Because here's the thing: if you live to be 80 and your kids are older when they start receiving this wealth, that in some ways that feels a little bit better. It's like, okay, they've got to experience life. They're not dependent on this money at that point. But what if the worst were to happen and they got access to this money earlier, right? Maybe when they're in their early 20s. How, Dave, then would you disperse this amount to where it is helpful to them? It's not too heavy at one season. Would you disperse it? What would you do?
Well, ours was set up until they reached 25 to have some kind of different dispersion, right? So like when they're minors, it was to be managed, and in order to qualify for a disbursement at 25 in the trust, they would have to have done this, and this, okay? Be walking with God and, actively. So you're not, in other words, we don't want to fund a cocaine habit on the back of a yacht for a reality star. That's not what we want this money to go for. And so if you're going to do that, then you don't qualify anymore into the trust, right?
But is there a limit that you'd give a 25-year-old? as a
no,
disbursement?
I didn't. I had it at 25. We turned it all over to him.
Oh, wow.
It's I mean, no, we haven't turned it over
I
because
know,
I'm
but
alive.
I'm saying you
and
would
mine
have.
Mine are now, the youngest is 33. So, but today, if I die, it's just dispersed. But if any one of them decides to live a life that disqualifies them as a manager of God's money, then they're not going to be able to get any. They're taken out of the trust immediately. So, and so because it's not really my money and it's not really their money, we are managing it. One of the beauties of managing it is you get to enjoy some of it, but most of the managing of it is a weight of generosity and a weight of other things. So, what I want you to avoid, Mark, is this: there is a thread that runs through some of our Christian churches that says that money is bad. Money is not bad. It's not good or bad. It's amoral. It doesn't have morals. What it does is it exposes the morals and character of the people that it touches. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so our job as parents is to raise children that become qualified stewards. Meaning and then I leave it to them, and I don't think anything about it, because I am well aware that the temple was built by Solomon atop Mount Moriah in Jerusalem, and in today's dollars, it would be somewhere around between $10 and $20 billion building. It was not built with Solomon's money; it was built with his dad's money. It was inherited money, David's money. Solomon's David's son. It was inherited money used to build the temple of God. And so, we're sure that God uses families that have character generationally to manage his goods. So it's not unchristian to do this. What you don't want to do is leave it to someone who it does harm to, because they've got a problem in their life and it expands the problem.
Well, I think, too, we're used to seeing, it's almost like we're filtering it through, you see a lottery winner, they win a bunch of money, they have this huge amount of money that comes into their life, or an athlete who has this huge amount of money come into their life, and before you know it,
And I've sat with those guys in NFL many, many times, and what I'm dealing with is a 21-year-old who has one skill. In all of his life skill buckets, he has one bucket. He plays football. He doesn't know how to do anything else. And that is exposed when he gets a $10 million signing bonus. And he loses it almost instantaneously. 3.8 years is the average NFL career, and most people leave the NFL broke. The exception would be mainly the offensive line, because generally those are the smartest guys on the team. This is The Ramsey Show.
CHM isn't health insurance. It's a health cost-sharing ministry. Check it out for yourself at chministries.org/budget.